Hi, my name is Charles Reeves, and I'm here to talk about my research topic, which was abandonment issues associated with adoptees. Um, I have to make a bit of a confession, if you will. I am an adoptive parent. My wife and I adopted my son, whose name is now Charles, the same as mine, when he was 15 months old, and he's now 6, and he is starting to kind of ask questions about the fact that he's adopted. And he talks is kind of strange. He talks to his mother a little bit more than me, and he wants to know how another woman carried him, and yet she's his mom. And something that we think about and talk about a lot is different issues that we'll encounter being the parents of an adoptee. And one of the things that um, always kind of comes to my mind is abandonment issues. Thinking about the parent who gave them away, and why would they give them away? Were they not good enough? Feeling rejected. And in taking on this research topic, I found out that this is a common topic. It's not something that that is just I was thinking about. It is very prevalent amongst adoptees. So prevalent, in fact, that when you do research, there aren't like percentages or numbers that say how many adoptees have rejection or abandonment issues. Pretty much everything that I encountered said nearly all deal with some rejection or abandonment issue in relation to being adopted, in relation to a separate relationship with their birth parent, because psychologically there are some things that they will deal with that they have developed a connection with the parent. The research shows that they develop a connection with the mother in the womb, which makes sense. They're growing in the womb, so they develop a connection, an attachment, and so the mother not only develops an attachment to that child, but that child also has an attachment to that mother, that parent. An adoptive mother, in the same sense as a father, has to create the attachment with the child. They create that attaching relationship through care, through comfort after birth. So this is the same thing that an adoptive mother would have to deal with, and that brings about also a point that adoptive parents also deal with rejection. They deal with the rejection from the fact that this child seeks out their origin, seeks out where they come from. So the adoptive parent also deals with rejection, which was an interesting point that I didn't think about. Even though I can say, like I said, this is a personal issue with me. There is that fear that my son, even though he does have my name, he will may eventually look for his father, his birth father, his biological father. And so, me as an adoptive parent, I too may deal with some sort of rejection issue. But dealing with the research and in looking into this issue, I did come across some different things, some different methods of dealing or helping someone cope with these issues. In sort of a kind of to-do list, just a simple point is dealing with the adopted parent. Encourage that child to go on a who am I search. Encourage that child to seek out their origin, seek out where they're from, do anything that you can to help them, because you don't want to hinder that process. You don't want to hinder a search that is actually common, more so amongst adolescents as they seek to try to find out who they are, what their identity is. And in the case of adoptees, it takes on a little bit more than just trying to figure out who you are as a person. They really are trying to figure out who they are. So as a parent, you want to encourage that parent in a counseling situation to encourage them to support that search, support that child in trying to find out who they are. And also reassure this adoptive parent that this child's search has no bearing on their importance. It would be a natural feeling, I think, to feel that if this child goes on a search looking for a parent, that somehow you have failed them as a parent, that somehow you didn't measure up, somehow you did not fit the bill. But that's not the case. It really has no bearing on you as a parent or what you have done for that child. It is strictly something that adoptee is going through. So it has no bearing on it. So I would, it's very important to encourage the parent to not feel that their role has been diminished, their presence has not been diminished with that child. And for the adoptee seeking that's going through these issues, suggest support groups. It's always good to talk to people who are going through the same issues that you're going through, regardless of what the issue is. It can be compared to a study group. It's easier, sometimes to study in a group when you're all studying the same subject. You're all going through the same struggle to try to, say, pass a final as a college student or even a high school student. So it's good to get together with other people with like struggles. So encourage that adoptee to possibly seek out a support group that could help them in their search to kind of deal with and cope with the feelings that they have. Also, encourage that adoptee to read. Read as much as you can. Try to find out as much as you can about the adoptive process. Find out, read about other people's experiences when it comes to the adoptive process and what they possibly went through, so that it can possibly be of assistance to you in your search of dealing with searching for who you are and who your parents are. Knowledge is key, and as much as you can find out and know, the better equipped you will be and more effective you will be in coping with your feelings. There are also some don'ts that a counselor should be aware of. Don't encourage the parent to withhold information. There are definitely instances where parents, adopted parents, have kept the information, sometimes about the fact of simply being adopted, kept that information from the child, and that can be detrimental. The deception, the betrayal, it destroys a trust. And as an adopted parent, you definitely do not want to destroy the trust that you have built and developed with a child that has come to you by the grace of God through the adoption process. So be sure don't withhold any information from them, and don't encourage that parent to say, kind of move on. Okay, this child your child you adopted has decided to go on the search for their birth parents out of feelings of rejection, to maybe try to cope with the frustrations of why they were given away. But you shouldn't sever their relationship simply because they are on that search, because again, you are not diminished as a parent, so you don't want to sever that relationship, but encourage them. But also, it's okay for the parents to feel this rejection. Let them know it's okay. Don't discourage them for saying, no, you shouldn't have these feelings. It's not your fight. You shouldn't feel that way. So definitely don't want to discourage them from having their own feelings of rejection. And there's definitely scriptures to help dealing with feelings of abandonment. Psalms 27:10, David in his speaking about how great God is to him and how God is his light and his salvation, he gets down to where he says, my father and mother have abandoned me, but the Lord will receive me. He gathers me up. So even in the midst of being abandoned by an earthly mother and father, know that you have a Father in heaven who will never abandon you, but he always will receive you. In Deuteronomy 31:6, it says, be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid or tremble at them, for the Lord your God is the one who goes with you. He will not fail you nor forsake you. Again, God is there for you. And he will always be there for you, no matter your plight, no matter what you're going through. God will always be there. And my greatest one, Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope. Everything is a part of God's plan. The adoptive family that you moved to is a part of the plan. You adopting this child, giving them a home, is part of God's plan. And know that God created this plan when you were still in the womb. And this is all a part of his great plan to get you to the destiny, the fate that he has already determined for you. Again, it's wonderful research topic, abandonment issues associated with adoptees.